Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome to this YouTube channel, or welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships. Let's talk about how trust gets demolished by a narcissistic relationship. So really, narcissistic relationships are where trust really honestly goes to die. Because not only are narcissistic relationships inherently betrayal-laden spaces, the net result of this is a loss of trust, and it's not simple. It's not simply that we just lose our trust in one person. It's almost an existential loss of trust. And when we lose trust in such an all-encompassing manner, honestly, the simple day-to-day act of living becomes more difficult. Because in these relationships we are chronically doubted and silenced, because we are told we are wrong, what we're feeling is wrong, what we're asking for is excessive, what we need is selfish, all of this together means that we not only start buying into this distorted narrative about ourselves, we literally stop trusting ourselves. Because frankly, it's exhausting to keep trusting ourselves when the truth we are regularly being presented is at such odds with the trust we have in ourselves, if that makes sense. We're basically being told, don't trust yourself. But let's break down, because we lose trust in so many ways in these relationships. First of all, we lose trust in our instincts and our judgment. And this, to me, is the greatest loss of the narcissistic relationship. It separates us from our sense of ourselves and what we know and what we sense about the world. We stop believing in our instincts and we second guess them. And that's a shame, because the vast majority of survivors will recall that they had a bad vibe from the beginning with a narcissistic person they met, even early on. And the pressure of enablers and the world around them, the conviction of the narcissistic person that we are wrong, all of that mixed together means that we genuinely start believing that we are wrong about ourselves, wrong about all of it. We stop trusting ourselves. So we become more tentative about the decisions we make. We waffle when we have to make a choice. We hold back. We second guess ourselves. We ask other people for reassurance. And this can hurt us in a variety of ways in all areas of our life, in our other relationships and work, everywhere. Then, second thing we do is we lose trust in our abilities. Now, this relates to that first idea, but these relationships leave us feeling incompetent. You may be someone who you yourself knew you were very competent at what you knew from the beginning of the relationship. You knew what you knew. Perhaps you put it into practice in a job or at school. But over time, because the narcissistic person has such a need to be superior, it means that we start to doubt our abilities. You hear that you can't do something over and over again, or they say, let me do it. You don't know what you're doing. If you hear that enough times, we start to internalize this sense of our own incompetence. It's exhausting to have to keep proving yourself and to keep schooling another person on the idea that you can do something that you know you can do, but they keep telling you that you can't. The narcissistic relationship cannot tolerate you being competent. So the gaslighting kicks in, and before long, you don't even feel competent in doing basic things. Some folks will say, well, it's interesting because I'm able to go to work and I'm able to get things done competently. But then they'll say, after I got into the narcissistic relationship, I even doubted what I did at work in a way that they never doubted it before. Even though they don't work with the narcissistic person, it's just the doubt goes everywhere in our own competence. The third thing we lose is we lose trust in other people. When we lose trust in other people, it makes it very difficult for us to build support systems, to start friendships, to start new relationships. But why, after one of these relationships, frankly, would you trust anyone? Because it's interesting. Some folks, when they come out of narcissistic relationships, they sort of internalize all of that I am not enough, I am incompetent style of thought, and may actually have misplaced trust in people. Many people in narcissistic relationships believe other people know more or are better. If you get burned in these relationships enough, whatever narcissistic relationship it is, intimate relationship, friendship, family relationship, workplace, and you stop trusting other people, and it makes sense as a safety behavior, trust kept getting you into bad spots, betrayed and harmed, and over time, you stop trusting people. Another thing that happens is you lose trust in new people. It becomes an all or nothing. You just stop trusting everyone. It's an interesting strategy because this does keep you from getting close to anyone. And if you don't get close to anyone, then you can't really get betrayed. But then you don't get to experience close friendships or relationships or love even, which are kind of essential to healing. And that can mean that you simply aren't able to trust someone new. So even if you did meet someone who is decent or kind or nice, you may hold back, no matter how patient they are, and their patience may run out. But like I said, I totally get it. But it does hold you back. It holds you back at work. It holds you back in meeting new people and building new supports. And in a sick way, that means the narcissistic person wins because you don't get the empathic and supportive relationships that you need. Folks, I really get this one because if I was to do a personal itemization of one of the most profound impacts of narcissistic relationships on me, it's this. It's a complete and utter loss of trust in people. And it's sad because it means I don't always get to become as close to people as I hope. I keep people at an arm's length, and I'm horribly inefficient, frankly, because I don't trust and I try to do everything myself. And it has hurt me. Then another thing we lose trust in is we lose trust in life. We lose trust in justice and in fairness. There's a suspiciousness that can pervade people who have been through narcissistic relationships. And since narcissistic relationships rarely end in a way that feels just or fair, it can really create this sense of a void, as though the things we were taught to believe in that are supposed to be bedrock beliefs, they are cut away. These relationships, narcissistic relationships, can take away the sense that working hard even matters or that being honest or having integrity matter at all, especially if the narcissistic people around you are continuing to succeed at work or succeed financially and you're continuing to struggle. And this can pervade us and fill us with a heaviness, a discomfort, and it doesn't feel good. This loss of trust in life itself can take some of the color, the poetry, and the magic out of life. And it can even take away our motivation and our drive to try. Trust takes so many forms. There's the trust we have for a parent, or at least hope we wanted to have for a parent. So the trust we have for a parent, the trust we have in an intimate relationship, the trust we have with an old friend, with a colleague. And these different breaches and betrayals of trust have different effects on us. The daily losses of trust that constitute the narcissistic relationship, the loss of trust that comes from not just betrayal, but from not being seen or heard or valued, that comes from being manipulated and from being relegated to simply being someone who fulfills the narcissistic person's needs with little regard for any needs of our own. It's a viral process. And before long, we stop trusting everything and everyone and ourselves. Can the trust come back? Yeah, it can, but not the way it once was. Probably not. It's a wiser trust, a more informed, more circumspect, more tentative trust. It takes way longer to form trust after a narcissistic relationship. The trust has to be heavily earned. It can be easily doubted. Frankly, I'll be honest with you though, the form of trust that matters the most is in yourself. Healing from narcissistic abuse is taking back yourself, your instincts, your intuition, knowing yourself and not doubting it. Once you get that slowly back, the other stuff becomes easier. But that is a slow process. And if someone gaslights you as you heal, it can put you several steps back. It can even be hard to trust the process. So just take it slow and recognize that your relationship with trust will change forever after a narcissistic relationship. It doesn't mean you'll never trust again, but it takes a long time. And when you get to that point, the first time you start trusting again after a narcissistic relationship, it can honestly be one of the most profound feelings you've ever had, because it feels entirely different than the kind of trust you had before, and certainly during, the time you were in a narcissistic relationship. Thanks again.